Hello friends, in this video I will tell you how to not be scared of unfamiliar and new routes when learning to drive a car. Let's go. What's the crux of the problem? The problem is that a beginner is desperately afraid of unfamiliar sections, roads when he drives a car, regardless of whether he has a license or is still studying at a driving school. When a student drives on a relatively familiar road, he is calm, and he more or less copes well. But as soon as he turns or someone tells him a route, be it an exam, he is already on edge when the examiner is sitting next to him and then the examiner tells him to perform some maneuver. The student understands that having turned there, he supposedly doesn't know anything there. This is the reason they fail. Why? Because the beginner instantly starts to become even more nervous and makes a host of technical mistakes and silly mistakes. Novice drivers with licenses poorly learned one route, like taking a kid to school or a mall to work or gym. One or two routes, that's it. Slightly off course, panic. Can't make them go elsewhere. Many face this issue, embarrassed to tell friends, family they're afraid to drive, despite 5 years of experience. These students come to me technically fine but terrified of unfamiliar roads, and the problem is newbies think it'll improve with time. But no, folks. Truth is, if we do nothing, you'll only confidently drive familiar routes. So in the end, what's the outcome? Time passes, you handle the car better, park easier, but you're not a pro driver yet. You're still an amateur. When you need to go somewhere, you check the time of day, traffic, and weather. You might say, I won't drive in rain or there, or I'm scared of this. So we keep struggling, despite our experience on new roads. We're like half drivers, not fully competent. Now, let's discuss the reasons. To understand what to do in this situation, we need to know why it happens. First, I'd like to say this happens to almost every driver. Why? People memorize routes. Sometimes instructors are at fault teaching to memorize roads. Yes, it helps pass the driving test, but nothing more. So, how I'll keep driving? As we can teach people from the start not to memorize the route, let's say I'm prepping a student for a test. We're practicing U-turns. A guy comes to me after some training, but he can't pass the test. He's struggling with U-turns, so let's practice. As the examiner, I tell him at some point, find a spot for a U-turn and do it. He's looking at a specific intersection, but I've taken him to an unfamiliar area. He asks, how do I turn here? I say, well, how will you ask the examiner? What path to take? Which sides to use? Can you even U-turn here? At this point, if the instructor gives direct answers, the student remembers them and develops a habit of memorizing. That's how learning happens, from the first to the 20th lesson in the city, let's say. Driving, forgetting, yeah. Turning back, remembering, recalling what's next, when you're in the exam. Or if you've learned some routes with your license, you somehow end up in an unfamiliar area of roads. You get lost because you supposedly don't know anything there. So the main reason here, guys, is that from day one in driving school, they teach you, or you do it yourself, to try and memorize the road. The second reason, equally important, is not knowing and misunderstanding traffic rules. You get used to certain roads. Take, for instance, my city, Ryazan. It's around 200 kilometers from here. It's a small center, small city, population of 500,000. Well, it's average, relatively speaking, not too small and not a big city. So a person might have driven there for 5 years, 10, 20. He's like a fish in water there. But if he goes to some other city, he faces situations there that we don't have in our city, like a separate lane, some tram tracks and things like that. Regardless of his experience, he will get lost there and behave like a complete novice driver. He would lose his composure too, even though he has already driven hundreds of thousands of kilometers. So because the driver is unaware of certain aspects of traffic rules, I'm not saying that he doesn't know them at all. I'm talking in general about some specific points. Reverse movements, forgot about the tunnel, about certain stopping rules, and so on. It's similar, but one way or another, it'll hinder you, you see, because of this. You'll fear unfamiliar roads. You'll do like everyone else. You know, this is one of the most dangerous things. Not only does the driver stop when on unfamiliar roads, but most importantly, when you get there, you'll act like everyone else. So guys, I'm not just constantly promoting knowledge and understanding of traffic rules for no reason. It's one of the golden rules to follow, and it's also one of the main reasons why we fear unfamiliar roads, because we don't know what to do there in terms of traffic rules. You see, and thirdly, it's not so common anymore. But still, these are established stereotypes, wrong psychological attitudes. When you get scared of an unfamiliar road once, twice, 3 times, you get used to fearing unfamiliar roads. You give someone an address and say, yeah, this. You mention a place and he says, oh, I know it. I've been there. He says, I know I've been there. So he thinks that since he's been there, he knows it all. But how can you know a road that's always changing? People move, cars move. Here they did repairs, cleaned up, a meteor fell, a pipe burst, utilities came, and obstacles appeared and disappeared. They started repairs here. Guys, think about it. How can you remember a road that's always changing? So sometimes you tell a newbie, I even did this mini experiment where we'd go somewhere and he'd get all excited. Where's that? I'd say it's there and there, naming the street. Oh, I know it, he'd say, staying pretty calm. But then when we approach, I say, turn left here, and he does. But he thought we were going somewhere else. He starts acting totally different, getting more nervous. And because of this, when our psychological state changes, he starts to make more mistakes, just from the thought that this is an unfamiliar area. Nothing has changed. We turned onto the same type of road. We were driving on a 2-lane road and turned onto another 2-lane road. Nothing changed, but because of what he heard. Either he knows that he hasn't driven there before, that's it. So guys, this is the third reason why we're afraid of unfamiliar road sections. We get used to fearing unknown roads, but now one of the main questions is what to do, how to deal with it, if this is something that's given to any novice driver by default, and it's instilled almost everywhere. Because the main task of instructors in driving schools is primarily, if they are working, to prepare for the exam. About real situations, how the driver will navigate here and there, no one really thinks about that. First, I advise that before setting out on an unfamiliar route, we need to prepare for it at least a little. How can we do that? We can look online, plan the route, use a navigator to see how the road will take us. Are there alternative routes? What maneuvers will you face? To get from A to B, we only need to master a few basic maneuvers. Go straight, turn left, U-turn, change lanes, and navigate roundabouts. Right turn, right turn, straight, roundabout, U-turn, lane change. These are the key elements. If you can do these, you'll reach point B. Knowing your weak spots, you can plan ahead and predict left, right. There are 5 roundabouts on this route. So try to find an alternative route to avoid them for now if you really need to reach that destination. You can also use the Yandex navigator and check the parking button to see if parking is allowed, paid, or free. Turn on panorama view to check the destination. I do this sometimes. I don't look at the whole route, just the final point. It helps me visually remember the building or object I'm looking for. When I see it, I'll know, oh, there it is, when I'm approaching the destination. Anyway, guys, you can do this one way or another. You can prepare in advance. Second, the most crucial part of driving is focusing correctly. You need to think about 2 main things. These 2 key questions should be your only concern. First, where am I going? You think about this and check the navigator. For unfamiliar roads, you need route guidance. In any case, you must know your route and destination. So, periodically glance at the navigator to see where you're headed. In the top left corner of Yandex Navigator, you'll see your next move. Don't look at the entire 15 to 30 kilometers route. Look ahead, 300m left turn. Got it? Don't assume what's beyond. Just turn left in 300m. Then, in alert mode, you've looked ahead. Second key question, what's coming in 200 to 300m? Where's that left turn? Visually, you must spot it. When you do, you start asking, what intersection? Controlled or not? What's after? Where to turn from? As you near, you're in alert mode. Compare navigator to road. Turned? Ask, what's next? It shows 6 kilometers straight, so no need to leave this road for 6 kilometers. Just drive straight 6 kilometers, looking ahead. The first key question, where am I going? 6 kilometers straight ahead. The second important question, what awaits me in 100, 200 m? And you do this every 8 seconds, periodically looking ahead, asking yourself that question, because we can't always go straight through at every intersection. Maybe you're in the middle lane, and at a certain intersection from the left and center lanes, you can only turn left. Going straight would be a violation. So, as I said earlier, driving straight is also a maneuver, and it's not always possible. After driving 6 kilometers in any lane, your navigator says, turn right in 200 m. Again, you look ahead, trying to spot the turn. When you reach this spot, guys, it doesn't matter which streets intersect here. You just need to turn right. Now, for the third tip, I suggest you verbalize everything you see, all your current and upcoming actions. So, in 200 meters, I'll turn right. Got it? Talk to yourself out loud. It's okay. To change lanes, I turn on the signal, check mirrors and road. I apply the no slacking mode. Check mirrors and road again. Lane changed. Look at the navigator. Ask yourself, where's my turn? How far is that? Check the distance. Didn't get it. Repeat. Need to turn here. Signals on. What's the red light? Stop. If you're a mechanic, you do this too. By talking through it, when you voice fears like, what if something happens, or what if I don't know, these thoughts won't linger. Speech isn't just for communication, it's for thinking. Try to focus on one thing, then another. That's why I suggest talking it out. It helps us concentrate on what's needed for both. These questions again, where am I going and what's ahead in 100, 200 meters? Moving on, those were the main tips, but there's more. When you're afraid of something, if you work on yourself and take action, you stop fearing it. I always say, someone's scared of going uphill and asks how to overcome it. I reply, weren't you once afraid of going straight? They say yes. I ask, are you still afraid now? They say no. I then ask, how did you overcome that fear? They start to realize, with time and practice working on mistakes, it'll be the same here. See what I'm getting at? At some point, any unfamiliar route becomes familiar if you keep working on it. You lose your fear, feel confident, but to progress, don't stay put. Take new routes if you want to grow as a driver. Like going on a summer road trip to the sea through different cities without getting nervous or hesitant. Remember this, to get somewhere, don't overthink about cities or intersections. You either go straight, turn left or right, make U-turns, or change lanes. That's it. Learn to do these things in various places. You'll be happy. And psychologically stay focused. The 5 golden rules apply too. Let me reiterate, if you want to be a confident driver in the future, unafraid of new roads, don't worry about the time, season, or weather. Just get in and drive where you need to go. The key is to enjoy it. Plan your routes ahead, stay focused while driving, and pay attention to what's coming up ahead. I also suggest narrate your actions, present, and future. Everything you see helps you stay focused and keeps doubts at bay. Just act on facts. Read the road, learn from it. What was here before doesn't matter. Keep moving, explore new routes where you're scared. To overcome fears, I say, if you keep this up, you'll be, as I said, I'm telling you, I couldn't care less where we're going. We've got a GPS, the route's set, and as I always say, a full tank of gas. We've grabbed some coffee, so let's hit the road. All right, guys, that's all for today. I'd like to ask you to share in the comments how you deal with unfamiliar areas. What do you do? What are your thoughts on this topic? We can continue the discussion there as viewers often read the comments and can gain more information. Well, that's our topic for today. That's all, folks. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. As always, I wish you all the best. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.